Digimon Seekers, Chapter 4, Part 3. The air smelled like pure burning exhaust. Solugamen, ultimate dark beast, virus. Everything was off the charts. Processing speed, output. There was so much potential here. I've regained more of my memory, AG. Solugamen, is that you? Yes, it is I. And with Van Argand, here. Solugamen held up the massive wrench-like mace in their right hand as it stared down the two High Commandramon. I shall set everything aflame. All will be reduced to ash. All the High Commandramon heard was the high-pitched whine of the generators. Before either of them could react, a dent formed in one of their shields where Solugamen had thrust the end of their mace. The next instant, a jet of shimmering, white-hot flame shot out from between the jaws of the wrench. Oh, whoa! The sheer power of the flame erupting from the jaws of the wrench seemed to howl like a wolf. Eruption howling! Van Argand's blade of concentrated flame cut through the High Commandramon's shield in seconds, each swipe of the blade unleashing what sounded for all the world like another wolf's howl. Solugamen spun the massive mace like a baton, adjusted their grip, and charged at their enemy anew. The High Commandramon shrank, and moments later, the other's shield lay in pieces. They weren't yet defeated, though. They quickly repositioned themselves and changed formation, readying their grenade launchers. They both emptied their chambers, sending 12 grenades hurtling toward Solugamen. The Digimon was engulfed in flame as the grenades found their target and exploded. The smoke from the blast cleared much faster than expected, yet there was no breeze. Solugamen quickly came back into view, the generators on its shoulders now completely open and running full tilt. The Digimon was now covered in its magical fire, a protective aura that would incinerate all it came into contact with. Unscathed, Solugamen boasted, flashing an impish grin. The High Commandramon shrank even further. Oh, come on, that's not true. You're definitely taking damage, AG said, looking at his various tools. Quiet, we have to completely break them, or else they won't leave us alone. They're almost professionals. Solugamen's attitude wasn't any less cocky than Lugarmen's. They gripped Van Argand and struck a pose to show just how unharmed they were by the grenade assault, generators spewing swirling cones of flame. The High Commandramon readied their electromagnetic batons. Open my generators all the way, they're gonna burn. They're mind linkers too. Don't wreck their digi-cores. AG wouldn't have a life to return to if he were the reason a couple cops went DMIA. Hey, they're tough. They're not gonna die. Solugamen took off, their generators leaving an explosive shockwave behind them as they slid along the ground and prepared to toss Van Argand. Skull rage. The light of Lugarmen's digivolution was enough to interrupt the fight between the two legendary dragons high above the gateway. They both covered their eyes, grunting in pain from its sheer luminance. The High Commandramon were at last brought to their knees by the mighty blow from Solugamen's mace Van Argand. They had no fight left. Yulin's hand-picked pair of mind-linkers, whom she'd trained to near perfection, had fallen to a code-cracker who was making a mockery of the entire force. She looked down to see a humanoid, wolf-like Digimon she didn't recognize. And yet, there on its forehead was the old-school interface she'd come to know so well. Is that Eiji Nagasumi? She asked, doubting her own eyes. Lugarmen's ultimate form. Absolutely incredible work, Eiji, Kosuke said, the battle with Yulin completely falling away in that moment. This cemented Eiji's arrival as an S-class codecracker. He had successfully mind-linked with an ultimate-level Digimon. Your fight lies with me, Yulin yelled, sensing Dorugoramon's focus drifting. Against all odds, she felt a strange sense of comfort and confidence. It always was, Crossroads Witch, Dorugoramon shot back, rediscovering its fury. I never meant to slight you. You see, in the end, you and your partner Digimon are once again an essential part of the plan. What do you mean by that? Don't you see? Tartarus said, opening Dorugoramon's arms wide as he looked up at the networked seas above. Data, vaccine, and virus. 3 Digimon with ultimate equivalent specs, each with the 3 key attributes, Kosuke said in a state of ecstasy. Yulin didn't follow. The Kosuke she knew was stoic but slovenly, unconcerned with climbing the social hierarchy or making any sort of plans. Her mind raced. Data, vaccine, and virus. Professor Ryusenji gave Eiji Nagasumi a vaccine attribute prototype Digimon. What are you plotting, Tartarus? I'm not plotting anything. Just telling the next chapter of our story. Of Operation Tartarus. The story of their university days, the failure of the Tartarus program, of losing Saya, the story of Kosuke, Yulin, and Professor Ryusenji. There was more to be told. For Kosuke, it had never ended. Time was an endless yesterday bleeding into the present, only to repeat the next day and the day after that. White crept into his hair, wrinkles formed on his face. The years passed, and he continued to waste them. His heart was stuck in a loop, ceaselessly pulling him back into a mythical time in which Saya never left his side. His life orbited the black hole where she used to be. Fame wasn't enough. Creating his own legends and mythos wasn't enough. Nothing could fill the yawning chasm within him. But now, at long last, a few hopeful drops fell into this empty vessel of a man. He took them gladly. Whether they were drops from a sacred chalice or the blood of a living sacrifice was immaterial. True to the mantle of Tartarus he'd taken, he was prepared to accept whatever fate awaited him. Unlike you, I haven't turned my back on Saya, Kosuke said, trying to drive a dagger into Yulin's heart. Her gasp suggested he'd succeeded. I don't blame you, to be fair. I know you've suffered, and that trying to forget was the only way you could move forward, that preventing further DMIA cases meant more to you than the money, which never matched your skills. Did you consider it your penance? Don't you dare talk to me like you still know me. Oh, but I think I do know you, better than any of the officers you trust, or Professor Ryusenji himself. But have it your way. Today may well be the end of another chapter in the story of the Crossroads Witch. A story whose principal characters, in his mind, were the codecracker Tartarus, Yulin, Saya, Professor Ryusenji, and Eiji Nagasumi. Eiji was the only one with no connection to Ryusenji Electronics and the original Tartarus program. He'd yet to be born, yet here he was. Kosuke had been waiting for him, for he needed all 3 prototype Digimon. You need me? No, you need Oryumon, Yulin said, a sense of dread welling up within her. Was her presence, and that of her partner Digimon, a bigger risk than anything else happening here? Very perceptive, Crossroads Witch. Now follow that line of logic. I can't defeat you, no matter what. Oryumon couldn't defeat Dorugoramon either. What the... Yulin felt like she was losing her mind. Oryumon and Dorugoramon were perfect equals? You sound disappointed. I get it. You're better than everyone else and you're used to it. You've probably got higher DS levels of compatibility with your partner Digimon and can mind link longer than me. But that's not what I mean. I'm sick of all this talk. Oryumon roared, barely concealing their contempt. I'm going to put a hex on you, Crossroads Witch. I, not you, will be the one to save Saya. Dorugoramon let out an earth-shaking roar as a silver aura, radiating power, covered their entire body. Save Saya? How on earth would you do that? Their inability to figure out how that would even be possible was the source of all their suffering. Yulin, Kosuke, and Professor Ryusenji alike. By scouring the depths of the digital world. Why else would we call it Operation Tartarus? Kosuke bellowed. Yulin gasped. Kosuke was in complete control of the moment. Doraemon, my partner Digimon told me how, way down in the depths, in a sector of old code, lies the sacred chalice. Sacred chalice? A relic of the digital world, an item of legend, and I shall be the one to find it. Come on, Dorugoramon, Kosuke shouted. Dorugoramon's aura grew thicker, dulling its silver color. They were nothing if not driven. But there was no need to drag out this fight between 2 perfectly matched mega-level Digimon. Aryumon! Yulin yelled. Gairyu Sadaijin! Gairyu Udaijin! Aryumon intoned, readying the blades and covering themselves in a golden aura. You sure it's a good look for a cop to have such murderous intent? Kosuke goaded. Some situations necessitate the use of force, and you might as well be brandishing a gun in a shopping mall right now. Me? What have I done? I haven't so much as broken into a bank vault or tried to crash a plane. You're still a criminal, a symbol for code crackers everywhere, Yulin yelled as Oryumon crossed their twin blades. I say Ryujin! Oryumon was prepared to run the table. Like the Dragon King piece in a game of shogi, the board was theirs for the taking. They charged, flying straight at Dorugoramon with their twin blades outstretched. The swords plunged into Dorugoramon's neck, sinking deep like a dragon's fangs. Dorugoramon shrieked in pain. I, not you, will be the one to save Saya. The hex, as Kosuke had put it, replayed in Yulin's mind as she attacked. She gasped. It's like I said, Yulin, you cannot kill me, not even if Oryumon kills Dorugoramon, Kosuke said. Why? Because she was a cop. No, that wasn't it. Gah! Yulin startled, looking into Dorogoramon's eyes. If I die, you'll never save Saya. If I die, Saya will drown in sorrow. If I die, no one will be able to save Saya. Dorogoramon's eyes lit up with a fire even greater than before. They grabbed Urimon's arms and ripped the Iseriujin from their neck, keeping hold as they pushed back against Urimon with overwhelming force. The wounds in Dorogoramon's neck were shallow. Yulin's fatal blow was anything but. You were always so considerate of Saya, but you've lost, Yulin. You've come all this way for her, whether you know it or not. Kosuke, Like I said, I know you better than anyone. Dorogoramon delivered a fierce kick that sent Uryuman reeling. This was it. There would never be a better window. Dorogoramon raised their foot in the air and launched themselves forward, turning into almost pure destructive energy as they let out a mighty roar. Brave metal! End of Chapter 4, Part 3.